Hello again, everyone. I'm Joe Longinusa, welcoming you to another edition of Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where industry leaders, golf professionals, and legends all come and discuss the great game we love so much. So without further ado, let's turn it over to our host to tell us who's next on the tee. Chris, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Joe. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me again this morning on Next on the Tee. I am your host, Chris Mascaro, and today I've got three wonderful guests that I can't wait to talk with and share with you this morning. So sit back, relax, let us take your mind off everything else going on in your life for the next hour or so. First up with me this morning is going to be LPGA Pro Top 50 instructor and Legends Tour player Cindy Miller. Cindy was an All-American at the University of Miami and helped them win back-to-back national championships back in the late 1970s. She played on the LPGA Tour for a few years before marrying her PGA Tour pro husband Alan Miller, and the two of them have played on all four major tours. So we'll be sure to talk about that. And Cindy has achieved so many great things both on and off the golf course that I can't wait to talk to her about all of it. And she's going to be here with me in just a few minutes. Following Cindy, we're going to get our monthly visit from Sports One Marketing CEO and best-selling author David Meltzer. So we'll get David's thoughts on the 2015 golf season, plus what he's looking forward to in 2016. We'll also talk about how fragile an athlete's brand is these days with so much going on with social media. You know, what do guys do when they press send and later perhaps wish they hadn't? David's going to join us to talk about that and more about 25 minutes from now. And then we're going to wrap up the show with our good friend and 2003 PGA champion, Shaun Micheel. We're going to get an update on what's next for Shaun. Plus, he's going to be here answering more of your questions when he joins me about 35 minutes from now. So it's going to be another great show today. I'm so glad that you're here to take the journey with me. Next on the Tee is brought to you today by our friends over at Seymour Putters. Let's hear a word from our friends over there.
Golfers, has this happened to you? Great drive, perfect second shot on the green, only to 3 or even 4 putt? Shaking your head all the way back to the cart. I have good news. Help is on the way with the Seymour Putter. The Seymour Putter Company patented RST technology sets up the putter perfectly every time using a visible gun sight on the top line. Genius! It's like locking radar onto the target, in this case, the golf hole, putting the golfer in perfect position to make a reliable and consistent stroke. The 1999 U.S. Open, 2007 Masters, and 2015 British Open champions all used, you guessed it, the Seymour Putter. So if you're ready to make more putts, take strokes off your game, log on to Seymour.com. That's SEEMORE.com and put a Seymour Putter in your bag today.
Yeah, like Joe said, check out the rifle scope technology that's helped win now 3 majors and 36 tour events and counting. It's going to help you make more putts. I know it's helping me. Check them out online at Seymour. That's SEEMORE.com and get one in your bag. You're going to be very glad you did. We are also sponsored by the French Lick Resort up in French Lick, Indiana. Folks, you want to talk about a spectacular resort to both play golf and just relax and enjoy yourself. Well, you're not going to find a better place anywhere on the planet than the French Lick Resort. Go to FrenchLick.com and see for yourself. I had the privilege of taking my family there back in June, and we are already looking forward to getting back there as quickly as possible. The resort is historic and beautiful. It's got wonderful gardens in the back and a huge rocking chair porch along the front. And the golf, my friends, oh my goodness, the golf. The Pete Dye course there is kept in championship condition year-round, and they could be ready to host a major championship at a moment's notice. They hosted the Senior PGA Championship earlier this year and the LPGA Legends Championship a couple months ago. So if you've always wondered what it would be like to play in major championship conditions, you can do it there at the Pete Dye course. They also have the Donald Ross design course, which is also fantastic. It's the site of Walter Hagen's PGA Championship victory back in 1924. They've also got the Valley Links course on the property that dates back to 1907. So the French Lick Resort needs to be on your list of places to stay and play. And oh, by the way, they've got a casino right there on the property as well. For more information and to book your stay, go to FrenchLick.com. I also want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Allen Edmonds, maker of top-quality made-in-the-USA shoes. Folks, the shoes of great leaders, from the Oval Office to corner offices to stage and screen and promising cubicles all around the country, are a part of what make people successful. The right footwear is important on the carpets and the hardwood floors of our global economy. Get it right with made-in-the-USA quality and value from Allen Edmonds. Allen Edmonds is an American original. They've been making shoes right here in the United States, in Wisconsin, since 1922. Also, check out the Rediscover America sale event going on right now through Columbus Day. They have 13 styles of their shoes and all of their colors on sale for over $100 off. Some of their leather and business duffels and briefcases are 30% off. All of their Allen Edmonds branded shoes are 14.92% off in honor of the year that Columbus sailed over here to the New World. So check it out online at allenedmonds.com. I also want to kick off the show like we do, folks, every single week here on Next on the Tee, and that's by saluting the brave men and women serving in our military. We want to thank all of you for your daily sacrifices and what you do for every one of us every single day to keep us safe. We also want to thank our veterans for all you've done for us over the years. We truly appreciate everything that our military personnel do to preserve our freedoms and our liberties. It's through your strength and your efforts that our way of life is even possible. Our sincere thanks as well to Shaun Cruz and the wonderful folks over at the Armed Forces Radio Network. It's an honor for us to have Next on the Tee be a part of your network. You can find our show by going to armedforcesradionetwork.org. And I also want to remind our veterans, be sure to check out globalvoiceforveterans.org. It's a great site with news and articles and a wealth of information specifically designed for our veterans out there that I'm sure you're going to find both interesting and beneficial. Again, go to globalvoiceforveterans.org. And we also want to give a shout-out to our friend and new partner, PGA Tour Pro Jim Estes, and the great folks over at the Salute Military Golf Association. You guys are absolutely fantastic and doing such wonderful things. I want you to hear a message from them.
The Salute Military Golf Association was created to provide rehabilitative golf experiences to the brave men and women who have been wounded while serving our country. Hi, I'm Jim Estes, PGA Golf Pro and co-founder of the Salute Military Golf Association. With my adaptive golf program, we've successfully helped thousands of soldiers in their recovery, both mentally and physically. The SMGA has been providing family-inclusive golf experiences across the country since 2007. To date, the SMGA has equipped more than 1,000 warriors with properly fitted golf clubs and has extended its clinic series to more than 8 chapter and affiliate locations across the U.S. If you are a wounded veteran interested in participating, or if you'd like to learn more about the Salute Military Golf Association and find a chapter closest to you, visit our website at smga.org. We've seen firsthand how impactful golf can be in aiding one's recovery. The Salute Military Golf Association, empowering wounded veterans one fairway at a time. Visit smga.org. That's smga.org.
Great stuff from Jim Estes and the folks over there at the Salute Military Golf Association. Can't say enough great things for what they are doing. Like Jim said, check them out online at smga.org. All right, now joining me on the Seymour Putters guest line is Cindy Miller. Let me give you some more background on Cindy. She's from Dunkirk, New York, which is about 45 miles southwest of Buffalo, which means it's about to start snowing up there any minute, I'm sure. And she helps give, instant clarity to why perhaps she was a walk-on golfer at the University of Miami. There she became an All-American in her senior year. She served as team captain and helped her team win back-to-back national championships in 1977 and 78. She qualified for the LPGA Tour in 1979. She played on tour for a few years before she met her husband, PGA Tour Pro Alan Miller. She later devoted her time to being an instructor and became one of the best at it. She was named LPGA Teacher of the Year in 2010, and Golf Digest named her as one of the top 50 women teachers in America. She was a contestant on 2 of the Golf Channel's Big Break seasons, the Big Break 3 Ladies Only and the Big Break 7 Reunion. She's also published several books. She currently competes on the LPGA Legends Tour, and I am very excited to say that she is with me here and Next on the Tee this morning. Good morning, Cindy. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
Cindy, I want to go all the way back. Let's start at the beginning. When you first decided, that golf was going to be something for you, when did that happen, and who put the golf club in your hand for the first time?
My parents were members of the country club, and I was dragged to the pool every weekend. And I got a little chubby in my adolescence years, and everybody started calling me 10-ton Tessie. So I quickly found an aversion to the pool and thought, well, if I've got to be at the golf course, I guess I'll go play golf. And I started to play and got serious about it when I was about 15. And when I was 17, my mom and her friends took me to an LPGA Tour event in Buffalo, and it was there that I caught the bug. I immediately thought, wow, I want to do this. I saw these beautiful golf shoes and golf swings and golf bags and clothes, and Laura Ball was my inspiration.
That's fantastic. So what makes you leave upstate New York to be a walk-on all the way down at the University of Miami and become a part of their golf team?
Did you really just ask that question?
That's what I thought, but I wanted to confirm with you.
Yeah. Hello. Well, I wasn't good enough to be on the team, and I wrote to the school, and the head coach, Norm Parsons, God bless him, he said, you know what, you're really not good enough to be on our team, but if you've got the courage to come down here and try, we're going to let you try. And I did. And my dad told me if you don't get a scholarship after the first year, you can't go back because it's too expensive. And I got a full ride my last 3 years, and I qualified to play on the team, and the rest is history. So I must really thank Norm Parsons for sticking and keeping to his word, because without him, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as I was doing the research on you, Cindy, I mean, you had a 14 handicap at the time, and I think the other girls on the team that were playing at the University of Miami were 5s or less. And I'm curious, based on the letter and all that sort of thing, to your point, if Norm had politely said, no to your request to try out, does your life go in a completely different direction, or would you just, walked on somewhere else and played college golf and things might have stayed the same for you?
I'm not sure, but I had written, as funny as it seems, when the dream's big enough, the facts don't count, I don't think. I wrote to Golf Digest magazine and the Ben Hogan Company, and I asked them where colleges were that had women's golf teams. And they actually wrote back to me, snail mail, and the only 2 schools I remember on the list were Odessa Junior College in Texas and the University of Miami. And I, being from Buffalo, Texas didn't sound appealing to me, but the University of Miami, better known as Suntan U, truly did. I think if Norm would have said no, I probably would have sought another avenue, but I'm so grateful that he didn't and that I was able to have that experience, because it truly helped me move. I mean, it changed my whole life.
And I read while you were down there, Bob Toski actually became one of your mentors. Talk about how you met up with Bob and what he instilled in you.
Well, it's funny. He was teaching at a public driving range, kind of like we're doing now, and he would have all these big high rollers and, business people come down from New York City and pay him all this money to take lessons, and I would just sit and listen. And it's funny, when you're really hungry, you become a sponge, and you soak up all the information. And our junior year, Nationals was going to be in Hawaii, and I was always fluctuating between the 5th and 6th player on the team, and my mission was to make it to Hawaii. Who doesn't want a free trip to Hawaii to represent the college team? So I had a little meeting with Bob Toski, and I said, I really want to make the team, but I don't have enough money to pay you. Can I help around the range and do whatever I need to, and will you give me lessons? And he said, absolutely. And sometimes I think you have to have the courage to reach out. And it's funny because I did qualify to be in the top 5 to go to Hawaii, and a week before we were ready to leave, my dad happened to pass away. When I got back to Buffalo, my dad was in intensive care, and he was in a coma. And it was so sad because it was like, the warrior was coming back to the king to say, I got the prize. I won the battle, and I'm going to play. And when I told him that, he just kind of squeezed my hand like, I'm not here, but I'm here, and I know that you did it, and I'm so proud of you. So it's funny. You have to want something bad enough that you're willing to do whatever it takes to get it. And I guess that's what I would like to instill in my students. And it doesn't matter if you just want to break 100 or, you want to get the ball in the air. Golf is hard, but you have to be willing to put in the effort and have the courage to fail. So.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. We talk a lot on this show, Cindy, about the mental side of the game, and looking over your website, there are a lot of what you teach revolves around the mental side of the game, and we talk about that subject so often because as we heard from Bobby Jones to Ben Crenshaw to everybody, so much of the game is in that 5-inch space between our ears, and Norm Parsons once called you like a mental motivator, even back then, and said you would just not accept failure as an option. Talk about that and how you instill that in your students now.
Again, I've never met anyone who's tried to miss it on purpose, whether it be a ball or their life. No one is born and says, "Oh, I want to murder people and become a drug addict and rot in jail." So there's always a why behind the what. And it's funny, I'm teaching today, and I've got a young girl who's a junior in college or a junior in high school wanting to play golf in college. And talking to her this morning, I think she's afraid of failing. And moms and dads put so much pressure on their kids to be everything to everybody, and you just can't do that. You've got to find your own path and figure out what is it that you want, what are your skills and talents, what do you need to learn, and are you okay with it? And if you're not, if you get that yucky feeling in your tummy, something's not right, and you have to pay attention to it. Alan and I are totally opposites. My husband, he played in the Masters 5 times, and he was on 3 Walker Cup teams, or 2 Walker Cup teams, and a World Cup team. And he was the star that was recruited by everybody. And I was the underdog who was a walk-on. And his dad, put so much pressure on him to perform, he ended up drinking for liquid courage on tour. And once we went from being, having dinner at Bob Hope's house to teaching golf at a public driving range in Buffalo, New York, the pressure got to him, and he tried to commit suicide because he thought he was a total failure. So, this is a really big deal to us, to make sure that you're okay with who you are and what you're doing and where you're going. And it's more than a game. It's like, how do you live your life, really?
Yeah, and that's an amazing story because looking at your husband's career, and he was quite an accomplished golfer on the PGA Tour. He won the 1974 Tallahassee Open. He had 18 top 10 finishes, tied for 15th at one of the greatest Masters of all time in 1975 when Nicklaus outdueled Weiskopf and Miller. So it's interesting that kind of pressure from a parent could lead a guy who had so much talent and was really an accomplished player to get down that path. How did he overcome that?
Well, you know what? He figured out that all the voices that he was listening to in his head, they weren't really the truth. And that was a conversation I had an hour ago with, this young girl. I said, Mom and Dad can't live your life for you. You have to live your life. And so it's near and dear to our heart that people realize that, I believe they happen to be a gift from God and that, everybody's here for a reason. And there are certain things that you're good at. Everybody gets to be good at something. And so it's the mission to find out what you're good at and then be happy with that path. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. You got to hit balls. You got to practice. But there's a path and a plan, and you can produce. And, I wanted to be a tour star. I wanted to be, Julie Inkster and Nancy Lopez. Well, that wasn't what I was supposed to be. I'm fortunate that I get to play with them now on the Legends Tour once in a while, but, I'm not a superstar. But I help normal people be better, and I love doing it.
And to that point, Cindy, when when you've got a new student that's getting introduced to you, and as you mentioned the word path, I mean, we all have a different path to success. We all learn differently. How do you go about trying to size up a student, help that person, and figure out the best way to get the best out of them?
Well, it's funny because when Alan and I were going through all our struggles, I went to a seminar and the woman was talking about how her husband drove her nuts. So, of course, I sat up and paid attention, right? I'm like, oh, I like this woman. And she wrote a book called Personality Plus. Her name is Florence Littauer. So, of course, I bought the book, read the book, took the test for me, took the test for Alan, and read off all of his weaknesses to him. And then it was a delayed intelligence attack, and I thought, wow, you can't help yourself. I thought you acted like this on purpose just to drive me crazy. And that wasn't the case. It was who he is. So I'm more like Suzanne Pedersen and Tiger Woods, and he's more like Ernie Els and Jason Duffner. And we clash, but again, I fall in love with his strengths, which once you marry him, now they become weaknesses, and you point them out to him. Well, I want to get certified. Yeah, so the long story of it is I want to get certified in these behaviors. So I am now a certified behavior, motivation, judgment, and emotional intelligence specialist. I also, when my students come in, I give them an assessment on how do they learn. Are they audio, visual, or kinesthetic? So each person, I want to know who they are. It doesn't matter who I am. I have to teach them in their language. So it's very important that not only I know who they are, but they know who they are. So we do this with college teams. We do this with corporations. I've got corporate training things I do for Microsoft, Merck, Yates Insurance, the Hartford. People need to know who they are. And once they understand that and their strengths and weaknesses and what they need to work on, everybody gets along better. Number one, you get along with yourself better. And number two, you get along with everybody you work with better. And once the elephant gets exposed, it almost becomes a joke. So we can laugh at it instead of want to kill people. So that's what I do with students.
So when your students have success, now I mean learning, having seen what your husband went through as a young person, and how you developed, and watching your students, how do do you have to take a step back and look at them so you're not now the parent putting a bunch of pressure on them? How do you make the game fun for them so it's not a pressure packed, high expectations and oh my goodness I failed to do this or that? How do you make it fun for them?
Oh, definitely. I'm U.S. Kids certified, so that, and I'm Titleist Performance Fitness and Junior certified. So that's number one, is it's got to be fun. And we do, water balloon fights. We do obstacle courses. We do tic-tac-toe putting. We do big break challenges. We do all kinds of stuff that's fun. But what they know, without a doubt, is that we love them, and what they shoot has nothing to do with who they are. And again, we've never met anyone who's tried to miss it on purpose.
Right.
So if they're really serious about it, we ask them, okay, why did that happen? It's okay if you make bad swings. He or she who misses it best without getting ticked wins. But you need to know yourself, did I miss that because I wasn't comfortable? Did I miss that because I didn't pay attention to what I was doing? Did I make a bad decision? Was I not committed to the decision? You can see that on the PGA and LPGA Tour. You can tell when people back off, they're not sure. Watch Keegan Bradley. He makes you nervous watching him. Watch Tiger at his best. It's like he's a laser-driven maniac. You can really see who someone is if you just watch them. So we try to make it fun. We've got parents that I've said, look, if you don't stop, I'm going to duct tape your mouth. You're going to make your kid crazy. I've got a 7-year-old little girl that I teach who plays in the U.S. Kids Golf Tournament, and the final tournament of the year, she shot 30 for 9 holes.
Wow.
30.
Yeah.
Now, her father, they got new clubs for her that are a little bit long. I want her to start working on the new clubs. I want her to hit it further. I'm like, whoa, they're too big. They're too heavy. Tell me what your fear is. You already have the best 7-year-old player in the Northeast. What are you afraid of, Dad?
Right.
Because she can feel your fear. You need to stop.
Yeah.
So I'm the protector, the advocate. We both, Alan and I both are. Because, again, we're the only married couple in the world that have played on the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour, the Champions Tour, and the Legends Tour. So we know our expertise comes in playing this game for a living. And we know what it can do for you, to you, and for you.
Right.
So wherever you want to go, we have been.
And to that point,
so we share our experience.
For our listeners, who are going to head out to the golf course, later today, tomorrow, whenever, what are a couple of things, that you can help us with in our minds, get our minds right as we face adversity on the course? Whether it's either you walk up and you got a bad lie, or you just had a bad hole and you're trying to get your mind right for the next hole. What are some things that we can keep in mind to help us improve while we're already out there?
Well, what I would say is, number one, each shot is a new challenge. And what are you doing out there? Are you trying to shoot a score? Are you trying to hit it better? Are you trying to be more consistent? Most people just want to be more consistent. Well, the definition of consistent is doing the same thing over and over again. Mm-hmm. So let's pay attention to what you're doing, and let's pay attention to what you want. Do you want to just hit it better? You could probably take half swing from tee boxes that, you should be playing from and break 90 or shoot 90 with just a half swing. People say, I got to hit my driver better. Well, maybe you just need to hit it straighter. Maybe you don't need to hit your driver. So I think it's perspective.
Yeah.
Let's just stop and think about, what are you really thinking about? And you're probably trying way too hard, and you don't need to do everything you think you need to do. Mm-hmm. It's easier than you think. They're simple solutions.
Cindy, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to be a part of the show. Let our listeners know, how can they follow you both online and over social media to get the most out of their games?
Well, thanks, Chris. This has been a pleasure to be on your show. My Twitter handle is @CindyMillerGolf. My website is cindymillergolf.com. My email is cindy@cindymillergolf.com if you have any questions. And I'm on Facebook at Cindy Miller Golf, and LinkedIn is Cindy Miller. So I thank you so much for having me, and I would love to hear from anybody who has any questions about anything.
That's great. Cindy, thank you so much for all of that. You're fantastic. I hope you'll come back and join me again sometime. There's so many questions that I'd love to get your perspective on, because you're great.
Well, thanks, Chris. It's been a pleasure, and I'll be back anytime you want me.
I appreciate that. Cindy, take care. All the best to you, Alan, and the rest of your family. I look forward to the opportunity to catch up with you again soon.
Thanks, Chris. Have a great day.
All right, you too, Cindy. That's LPGA Pro and top 50 instructor Cindy Miller. Great stuff. Holy cow! I can't believe the story about her, husband Alan, and what he, overcame, and the things that she was able to do, and great tips in there. Look forward to getting Cindy back on the show real soon. All right, we're going to get to our next guest, David Meltzer, on the other side of this station identification.
You're listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, heard around the world on the Armed Forces Radio Network.
Now back with me on the Seymour Putters guest line is Sports One Marketing CEO and best-selling author David Meltzer. David's book is Connected to Goodness, Manifest Everything You Desire in Business and in Life, and it continues to fly off the shelves at bookstores around the country and on Amazon.com. He is positively impacting people's lives all over the world through his company, Sports One Marketing, and his partnership with Pro Bowl Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon. His site, MeltzerMission.com, has a wonderful positive message for us every single day, so I highly encourage everyone to go check it out and sign up for the daily inspirational message. It helps you sort of get your day off in the right frame of mind. To start with, MeltzerMission.com, again, is the name of that site. He is one of the most inspirational guys you're ever going to talk to or hear speak, so I'm so glad he's back with me and Next on the Tee this morning. Good morning, Dave. How are you, my friend?
Hey, good morning, Chris. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Sorry,
Dave, I want to start off this morning getting your thoughts on the 2015 golf season. It was sort of the spring and summer watching and hoping Jordan Spieth could actually pull off winning the Grand Slam, and he thrilled us right up to the 18th hole there at the Open Championship. Then it sort of became the late summer of Jason Day getting the monkey off his back at the PGA Championship, and then reeling off a string of dominating victories there for a while until Jordan again regained it at the the Tour Championship. And I know you and your company do a lot with Nike Golf, so I'm sure Rory's going to be back on the top of his game when the calendar turns to 2016. But I wanted to get your thoughts on 2015 and then what you're looking forward to in the 2016 golf season.
I'd just like to start off with something that everyone's missing in golf, and that's this ever-impeding problem with concussions and violence. As you know, this President's Cup just started off with a huge fight, and these guys are, have this unbelievable, residue, these old golfers from all the concussions that. Oh, I'm just kidding. That was hockey. That was hockey. I'm sorry. It's just amazing because I'm looking at this golf season, 2015, and I don't know how it's not more popular than the NFL. And it's an amazing sport. As a parent and I'm a football lover, right? I played college football. I look at my kids and I try not to push them to do things they don't want to do, but I just think what a profession. I'm watching these great young golfers, like you said, Spieth and Day and Fowler and, Dustin Johnson and Zach. I mean, the list goes on. And then I look at that unbelievable finish with these great talents, and they're doing it in different ways. I mean, you have, from the long hitters and then all the way to these skill players like Jordan Spieth that has proven that you don't have to pound the ball like Bubba Watson to win and be the $22 million to walk around the most beautiful places on earth and get cheered by the most the highest net wealth individuals on earth and put onto a pedestal. I just don't know why you would want to play 2.5 years in the NFL and come out not knowing your name or, skating around a rink and fighting people. It just, as a sports guy, I'm just so excited about golf. And if we look at last season, I think we're making the transformation from Tiger. And that's what this last season, 2015, represented. It's the transformation from Tiger. You have Rory, and don't think he's gone anywhere. And we do work with Under Armour, we work with TaylorMade, and we do work with Nike Golf. So we'll take anybody's money and help as many people as we can with it. But I think it's great, right? Because you have all the brands, unlike the official sponsors of the NFL, once again in golf, head to toe, these guys are race cars now. And we have every brand represented. And I am so excited for next year, and it's not just the young guys, right? Every once in a while we saw, these great legends of golf pop up in the top 5 and be competitive. And, it's, whether it was couples or whoever it was late in the season. I'm drawing a blank on my boy's name with Legacy that came up late, 52-year-old. You can help me out. But, it's just a great game. It's been a great season. And I think with these big companies behind it, Under Armour, Nike, TaylorMade, we're going to see a lot more publicity awareness. And next season really is going to be the turning point. And God help golf if Tiger Woods makes a comeback, because you will see money, ratings, and a lot of energy and excitement with or without him. But if he comes back, it'll be amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely it will. And it's interesting, Dave, because you talk about, working with all of the different brands, and, professional athletes now are really their own brand, right? They got to develop, their own brand and market themselves, and they've got companies like yours to help them do that. But, it may not be more true that a guy is his own brand than it is in golf, because it's an individual game. It's not really a team game outside of the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup years. But, talk about the hidden pressures that you see that athletes face and how careful they have to be not to make a mistake, particularly, in this social media world where, if you press send, sometimes you really wish you hadn't.
Yeah, it's a repository. It's a global, ubiquitous repository of data. And unfortunately, when we press send or upload or whatever it is, it's there for good. And it goes viral very, very quickly. And that is representative of you and your brand, no matter if you play a team sport or an individual sport. It's a very difficult thing to come back from. Although you can take accountability and learn, and people are forgiving, but we have to be protective of the brands because it can cost you a lot of money and a lot of influence, and we really want to be careful. And that's what we do at Sports One Marketing, is preventative marketing. It's a little different than a lot of people, is that we actually pre-think, and because of the years that I was with Lee Steinberg and then with Warren having, more years in sports than most humans and being so hyper-intelligent, we really look beyond today and help build a brand by creating organic, authentic, positive ideas, building a legacy by giving back. And we're very careful with our corporations and athletes and those relationships tied into charitable events by utilizing the right people and the right ideas. And that's why we've been so successful now for almost 6 years, Warren and I, of building some of the world's best brands and helping so many people and raising so much money.
Dave, do you find that golfers have different outlooks, on life and their careers than the athletes that you're dealing with in other sports?
No doubt. So, what I was joking about at the beginning of the show is very it's a conscious belief of these golfers, right? A football player has a misbelief, for example, and hockey players and even baseball players, that they're going to play forever. And even with injuries, you can see you can play literally forever and make really good money without concussions or fights or any of these other things. Look at the numbers. Let's say the top 20 to 25. So if you're the 25th best golfer in the world, if you're the 25th, right? Imagine if you're the 25th best quarterback, you're sitting on the bench half the time. But if you're the 25th best golfer, you're making unbelievable money from the time you're 21 or 22 until now. The way things are going with the championship tours and the Legends tours, it may go till about 75, which is a longer career than a lawyer or a doctor or an insurance salesman.
Right.
And you're doing what those guys like to do on the weekend. So they know, they see that, and especially the young guys with people like Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, and how they've built their own brands and owned their own networks and done stuff like that. These guys are hyper competitive, intelligent, and they're very conscious about. I don't always necessarily have to be the best golfer in the world in order to have an amazing career and amazing life. Now, if you're lucky enough to be Spieth, Day, Johnson, whoever, these guys even take it to the next level, and they do have some great guidance, not only externally with marketing companies like ours, but internally, within the sport with great legends who have done, I'm just so amazed. I think Arnold Palmer and Jack and Tom Watson and Couples, and these guys have really, and there's many more, have taken the young golfers under their wings and taught them how to build not only their brands, but the brand of the PGA.
And Dave, a couple more before we let you go. One, I know you've got some upcoming speeches at California State and San Diego State. When you're talking to college students, what do you want them to walk away with from your time speaking to them?
That's a great question. I have one purpose. I walk in, and the first question that I ask is, who here thinks it's competitive to work in sports? Who thinks it's a possibility, who thinks it's a probability, who thinks it's their reality. And, even further at some schools, it just goes in high schools when I speak there. I ask them who thinks it's possible to go to college, who thinks it's probable, and who thinks it's a reality. And you'd be shocked, especially in our inner cities with at-risk children, how few of them think it's even possible. And the same holds true in our great universities, that how many think they're possible they can work in sports. And what I do is tell them within 50 minutes, I'm going to change any possibility to a probability and to your perspective. And so my main objective is to teach them in 50 minutes how to make any conscious belief or dream a reality. And in most cases, that's, working in sports or sports technology or negotiation or, the variety of different things that I speak at a corporate level and get paid for. I always volunteer when I go down to any city to speak at the schools surrounding the paid speeches. So I leverage, that expense and revenue generation with helping out and empowering our youth to understand they can do whatever they want. They can make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun and follow their passion and dreams.
That's awesome. Dave, you and former Chargers and Vikings defensive back Vincey Glenn, our good friend, you guys are doing a radio show together. Tell our listeners how they can check it out.
Yeah, it's on AM 830. It's the Angels Radio. We are going to start syndicating that show, I think, in 2016. But it's called Street Cred with D&V. We have some unbelievable guests like Marshall Falk and Sterling Sharp and just amazing Hall of Famers, Shaun Green, a lot of our Thursday night tailgate people that are involved. But Vincey and I deal basically with some straight-out street talk. Vincey has that perspective of playing in the league, what the locker room, the sidelines, what real football's about, and he's not shy about telling the truth in an entertaining way. And I have the more sports agent, dorky lawyer, businessman approach. And we're not afraid to throw a few zingers at each other, and our guests aren't afraid to make fun of us either. So we have a lot of fun, and hopefully it'll continue. But more importantly, too, I really love, still my favorite show, and they can quote me, put it on anywhere. That Thursday night tailgate show of yours, Chris, is incredible. We're going to be doing it at the Pro Bowl. And, of course, the golf show, and I love the platform of Armed Forces Radio. We're doing more and more with all four branches of the military, especially in education, both with Beating the Odds Foundation as well as a company called SHMOOP, SHMOOP, where we have testing for not only the ASVAB in the military, but GED, and then also the upper stuff like SAT, ACT, and even AP courses. So we have about 10 million kids a day on there. So I highly encourage people to go to SHMOOP as well on this Armed Forces Radio Network.
That's great stuff. Thank you for sharing that, Dave. And before we let you go, let our listeners know where else besides California State and San Diego State you're going to be, that they can come check you out and hear you speak.
I feel like a golfer with all these just little plugs and endorsements. Thank you so much. But I just got back from the National High School Basketball Association in Atlanta. I was the keynote speaker there at Popeyes. I'm going to be at Long Beach State, UCLA, and then on the corporate side, speaking down in Dallas at L'Oreal this week. Going to India the first week in December, I just found out, to speak over there, which will be quite a treat. But you can go to the meltzermission.com. I do about 10 dates at least a month on the aspirational speaking tour. It's been going extremely well. And once again, Chris, I'm just so grateful that you've given me a platform to help build that brand, to help empower people, to empower other people to be happy. So thank you.
There you go. Dave, thanks so much for taking time out of your morning to be a part of the show again this month. Always look forward to talking with you. And like you say, we get to do it every week on the football side on Thursday night tailgate, and I always look forward to doing it again here every month on Next on the Tee. I can't thank you enough for your partnership and everything you've done for us, and certainly look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. Take care, Dave. That's David Meltzer again, MeltzerMission.com, and it's such a great way to get your day kicked off in the right way. Such great inspirational stuff on there. I can't recommend it enough. And his book is called Connected to Goodness, so check it out. You can find it on Amazon as well. All right, before we get to our next guest, Shaun Micheel, who's going to join us here in just a moment, let's hear this word from our friends over at the French Lick Resort.
You just can't beat this weather. The leaves are starting to change. It's the perfect time to get away to French Lick Resort and play the courses the champions play. This year, the Pete Dye course at French Lick has hosted the Senior PGA Championship and the Legends of the LPGA Championship. Play our Donald Ross course and feel like 1924 PGA champion Walter Hagen. Fall is the perfect time to play the courses the champions play at French Lick Resort. Book our Hall of Fame package now at FrenchLick.com.
You're listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, heard around the world on the Armed Forces Radio Network.
Now back with me to answer more of your questions on the Seymour Putters guest line is our good friend and 2003 PGA champion, Shaun Micheel. Hey, Shaun, how have you been, my friend?
Hi, Chris. Good morning. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you. Shaun, I want to start today by getting your thoughts. You know, I got to find out, your boys at Indiana almost pulled off the upset against Ohio State last week. How excited were you watching that and, ultimately almost got it done?
Yeah, it was too bad there at the very end. But, much like last year, the quarterback, Nate Sudfeld, he got injured last year, and he missed probably the last two-thirds of the season after, having surgery. And then he gets injured again in this game. And, they played pretty well. But, look, that Ezekiel Elliott is a monster. And he rushed for 274 yards or something like that. So that was really the key to winning for Ohio State. They've not played that well in the last couple of weeks. And, it's ultimately, I guess, just about winning the game. But I was disappointed. I was disappointed that the last play kind of just got a bad snap and really was no chance to get that ball completed in the end zone. But, look, we've shown Kevin's doing a good job up there. And we're exciting. We're a good team to watch, put up some points. Now our defense needs to, step up a little bit. But I was happy they had an opportunity. Look, I guess they're 4-1 now, right. So they've not been to a bowl game in a number of years, and I think they've got a couple bright spots, a couple W's, in their schedule coming up that should give them a little push into a bowl game. But look, all the teams. Just to be in a bowl game, I know there's a lot of bowls now, but morale and everything like that. So I'm happy for them. I'd love to get up for a game sometime, and I think they maybe had their first sellout in a while up there in Bloomington. So it was good to watch, and of course disappointing in the end. But they put it on them.
Yeah, no, they gave Ohio State everything they wanted and more. And to your point, it's got to be an exciting time for Indiana football, something that they haven't been this good in quite a while. So I think you got a lot to look forward to, and I'm pretty sure you're going to find yourself in a bowl game at the end of the season.
Yeah, I hope so. I'd love to see it. They deserve it.
Shaun, I also, talking, on the golf side, want to get your take on the 2015 golf season. Obviously, Jordan Spieth had a magical season, and can you believe $22 million in earnings this season for Jordan Spieth? When you look back, over the evolution, and obviously, we owe a lot through history, right? With Arnold Palmer, who got golf sort of on the world map, to Jack Nicklaus, to Tiger Woods getting this amount of money in the game. But are you amazed that a guy could win $22 million on the golf tour this year?
Well, I don't know. I think they needed to do something. The tour I'm speaking of. You look at any of the other sports, and even Commissioner Fincham is not on par with the commissioners of other sports. Now, I understand that there's a kind of a totem pole, and Roger Goodell making $45 million a year. NFL's probably the biggest game in town, but I think the tour felt like a couple of years ago that they needed to, have their number one. Look, Jordan won the money list, and he made $12 million. Now, he did get the $10 million bonus, so I guess that's all counted in there. But here's the number one player in the world, best player in our sport. And, he's reaping the rewards off the golf course, but many athletes do that too. So, and they baseball pitchers are making $20-25 million guaranteed, a lot of things. So these guys that are playing well and represent the sport the way that they do, they deserve to get paid. And it was good to see. Jordan had just an incredible year. The consistency, I know he's a little, disappointed with a couple of the first two events in the playoffs, but there's a lot of pressure leading up to it, and the desire to win the FedEx Cup and just not getting off to a great start. But I guess it comes down to how you finish. But it was a great year for golf. A lot's being made of the big three, the new big three, and
right.
You know, how young the age of the tour is, the average age of the tour, and where it is. You know, these guys will be around for a long time, and the PGA Tour needed it. Golf needed it. So many eggs have been kind of put in the basket with Phil and Tiger and those two guys that you know, they're entering the twilight of their career, and so the tour needed these guys to step forward and bring a younger crowd, younger fan base to the tour. I think they've done that.
So when you look ahead to the 2016 season, and it's interesting, right, with the wraparound season now, the 2016 season I think starts next week at the Fry Open. So
yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, there is no downtime really, and but when you look at the 2016 season, does something need to change? You know, if you were, you know, if you had, you know, the commissioner's ear, is there something you would tell him, like, hey, you know, hey, things are going great, but I think we should do this?
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know how many people are really wild about the wraparound schedule. You know, look, we all got used to starting in January. But the one thing that the tour does is, you know, starting in the fall, they're kind of going head to head with college football and NFL football. So maybe there's a few things they could do. You know, maybe play. You know, maybe finish on Monday and Tuesday. I think that's kind of been brought up, and I don't know. We still want to see the fans. I call it the fans in the stands. It's not it's not represented very well when you have a tournament on TV and nobody's out there. You see a lot of that the European Tour, and it's all TV driven pretty much. I mean, they've got a few events that really you know, have the fans that come, but for the most part, it's just so TV driven. I don't know. I'm not really wild about the wraparound schedule either. I know that the well, what's interesting to me, and I'm not the first one to say this, that, you know, guys like Tiger and Phil, and there may have been a few other guys, weren't really excited about having a lengthy year that really goes into the late fall. And I can't say that I blame them, but you can't have events like the Fry's in Vegas, Sanderson Farms near my hometown, McGladrey. You can't have a sponsor that's being expected to put up $3 or $4 million a year, probably a little bit more than that, for a fall event, $5 or $6 million, and then not grant them full FedEx Cup points. You know, the win doesn't get you into the Masters. So they had to do something to change that, and so they had to basically make that the beginning of the season, and I guess it doesn't really matter if that's the start of the year or the end of the year. But I think that as these younger guys are coming to the forefront, I think you'll see the complaints about those types of things, from that to playing in pro-ams, and you know, because a lot of these guys, you know, they wanted to have the free money, which is at the end of the year, the tournaments in Asia that are part of the European Tour, the ones that really pay the guaranteed money, you know, $300,000-$400,000, if not more, to Tiger, getting $1 million or $2 million to go to these events. I think that's really what they wanted. I mean, do they really want off time? I mean, Tiger was only playing 16 or 17 weeks a year in his heyday. Yeah, he played a few other events. He played a few other events overseas. He played Dubai, where they're paying him $2 million. He might have played, I don't think he ever played Qatar, but he played, you know, maybe UAE and Emirates. There's two events over there, but anyway, I mean, so I think that these younger guys are not. You're not going to see the griping really about those types of things. But the tour is hanging in there. It seems to be doing very well. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of buzz, you know, on social media, which is good, and that's good for the game.
Shaun, our first listener question this week is, if you had one round of golf to play, where would it be? And is Oak Hill the obvious choice, or does some other golf course hold a special place in your heart?
Well, you know what, Oak Hill certainly is right up there. If it was my last place, golly, you think of this. You know, I mentioned how much I enjoy playing at St. Andrews.
Right.
I've played so many great courses. I mean, Medina. I mean, you know, Pebble Beach would probably be something, because it's just the scenery. You know, the history there, just really everything about the town and everything. I think I would probably, that'd be up there as well. It's hard to really pick one. I mean, I guess it depends on who I'm playing with. If I'm playing with my father, who I've played with for my entire life, I probably choose my home course, which is Ridgeway Country Club. It's a place where I grew up. It's a place that I know the best, where I have all my friends. My dad's, his group he played with for 35, 40 years is there. So although some might assume, and I might pick a course that I mentioned, Oak Hill, Medina, Pebble Beach, St. Andrews, I would probably opt to play for Ridgeway Country Club. It's just it's where I really learned the game, and so I think that's pretty obvious in my mind.
Okay. Our next question is, did you like playing with guys who talked while you were out there walking on the golf course, or did you more prefer to be quiet and focus on your own game?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, there can be too much chatter. Some of the guys, you see that they have a little bit of nervousness in them. And look, we're all nervous out there, and we all kind of do different things. Some people may chew gum. Some people, we do walk slower, walk faster. Some people talk. Lee Trevino is one of those guys, I think.
Yeah.
That just enjoyed conversing. But I was always pretty quiet. I think in the majority of my career, when I felt like I was playing my best, over the years, I think I've changed a little bit more. I've gotten a little bit more kind of a chatty Cathy. Kenny Perry once called me the mayor. I think he gave me the nickname the mayor because I'd come down and I would just talk to everybody on the range and shake hands and everything. So I think maybe some of that, maybe when I started to realize that maybe my career was starting to trend in the wrong direction, that I decided that it was time to really be friendly. I don't know. But no, I enjoy playing with guys that talk. It can be a little bit too much. If you're having a conversation about something, it's one thing, but to hear a guy just chirping about, that's the wrong club or this course isn't set up well, he just needs to be talking. I don't like that. But I enjoy being out there. It's a great game. It's played at a pace that allows for that. And ultimately, unlike most of the other sports, I guess I am playing against my playing competitors, but I'm really playing against the golf course. And so I think those are the differences really in the game of golf. You don't have to. I mean, look, I played with guys, Greg Norman was one, Tiger was one, that they wouldn't say a word to you the entire day. They might say good shot, but they were so in tune with what they were doing. I remember playing with Greg at the International. This goes back a long time. This is probably around 2000, might have been right around there. And we were walking up the 8th fairway, and he was way ahead. It was a 2-ball, probably I think it was on Saturday. And Tony Navarro was back caddying, who I've gotten to know pretty well. And he's just a long-time caddy. And Greg turned around and yelled down the fairway. He goes, "Hey, get up here," type of thing. Quit talking. And so Tony was walked up there, and Tony was always, I always felt like their personalities really conflicted. I mean, Tony's a great caddy and a great guy, loves to talk, but Greg was not one to talk, or at least he wasn't one to talk to me. I was a young kid out there learning to play the game, and there, believe me, there's a lot of that out there that goes on. But it was a little unsettling at the beginning, but there's guys like that I never really enjoyed playing with. So I guess I would have to say, I do enjoy a little bit of conversation, when it's the right time, I guess. But
yeah, and as you mentioned, Trevino, did you ever play with Lee?
I didn't. No, I didn't. But growing up at Colonial Country Club, which I lived on the 4th green of the South Course, and for anybody that's listening, that's the golf course where Al Geiberger shot 59. So I lived on the 4th green of the South Course, and every year when they had the Danny Thomas Memphis Classic, I would go up there on the 4th green, and I basically would shuttle between the 4th green and the 5th tee. They were all about 20 yards apart. So I would watch guys hit into the green, and I would watch, then I'd go watch them hit their tee shots on 5. And so, I watched Lee Trevino come in. I mean, all the old guys. I mean, just, J.C. Sneed and all the guys, Jerry Pate, it's all these guys that Mike Holbert, so many of them. So I never really spent any time around Lee, and I've only probably been around him several times. I think with his, he's been off the tour for a long time. He's I think Lee's got to be in his mid-70s by now, so I've never really been around him. But certainly know a lot about him, and he was a heck of a player, and had a great sense of humor, and played the game with a lot of enthusiasm, and had a little bit of confidence. He certainly believed in what he was doing, but to see a guy and to see where he had come from, it's amazing to me that guys can make it to that level, and so he's a pretty special man.
Our next question is, who were some of the celebrities or other athletes from other sports that you played with that were pretty darn good golfers?
Oh, I played with John Smoltz. Probably the best. I'm trying to think. Roger Clemens was a pretty good golfer. I played with him several times. Most of the guys that I played with, were involved in a charity event somewhere. I did play in the Bob Hope and was lucky enough to be in that celebrity rotation for a number of years. So I've been paired with musicians, and Yogi Berra, since he just passed, really is someone I got paired with 3 times, and I really enjoyed being out with him. But for the most part, I think Marcus Allen was a pretty good golfer too, and I played with him a couple times. But John Smoltz is probably the best. These guys are able to transition from sport to sport, pretty easily. A lot of the baseball players are really good golfers. I think some of the hockey players are good golfers. But like I said, when you play in the Bob Hope, these guys are out having a good time and not really focused too much on their games. But there's a few of them out there.
Our next question is, what was your strategy during stroke play events? Are you playing the course, or are you watching what your opponent does to decide what you're going to do with your next shot?
Well, I think that comes at the end if you're in contention to win a golf tournament. And but for the most part, I think you're just out there when you start on day one. I mean, first of all, I think you have to size up the golf course. Look at the conditions of the day. I mean, what type of day is it? Is it a golf course that you can attack? So those are really some of the obvious things. Then you have to assess really how you're playing. Are you just kind of getting it around? Are you playing well? Are you putting well? It's you don't really play the match play scenario till the very end. There's a lot of like I said earlier, you're playing the golf course and you're playing yourself and everything else. I don't really care what somebody else is doing. If I see a guy that's going off and he's made 3 or 4 birdies in a row, then I may be thinking to myself, either I need to play a little bit more aggressively, or I'm just not putting well that day. It's hard to say. But you can learn a lot about your game and the state of your game from watching somebody else. But no match play at all until the very end.
Our next question is, what piece of advice did someone give you that you've never forgotten?
Stay off the driving range.
Is that right?
I've never forgotten it, and I only listened to it for a little while. So, my coach, my coach from college, Sam Carmichael, who played the tour in the 70s and is about to be inducted on November 6th into the Indiana University Hall of Fame. He told me to stay off the range. When I was younger, all I did was play golf. Of course, you got to hit balls to warm up. And, the one thing that he told me when I was in college before I made my transition into professional golf was to stay off the range. And it wasn't so much about, hitting a few balls or not maybe working on some of the things that maybe it's a drill or two that you're wanting to work on, and I'm the obvious to warm up. He was just advising me to stay off, 2-3 hour sessions and spend more time on the golf course. And again, I think for the most part, I did that for a while. But when you make the jump to professional golf, you're basically playing against all the best players. At least when you get to the PGA Tour, you are. And so you walk down the range and you're playing with a guy, and you like maybe a motion in the swing, and you get over there. Oh, I'd like to maybe do that, and it's deadly to do that. But that was the piece of advice that really sticks out. And I listened to it for a while, and I've not been so great with that piece of advice. But for all the people listening, I think it's important to get out there and play and hit shots. You see it with Tiger. They talk about it all the time, but he looks like he's not playing the game. He's playing golf swing. And when you find yourself just kind of living out on the driving range, you're working on things. You may see guys with alignment rods that got shafts stuck in outside their right foot, keeping their hips, whatever the heck they're working on. My wife likes to call me Tin Cup, because there was a time in my life that I'd go to these golf training sites, and I would have 3 or 4 training aids sent to me at once to fix this, that, or the other. And she saw me one day, and she started calling me Tin Cup. And it's sad. It really is. It's comedic, but it's really sad. It's because the golf is a tactile game. It's a mental game. It's a feel game. It's like it's like see and react. And look, you have to grip the club. There are certain ways. There are fundamentals. The fundamentals of the game are always the same. It's a pretty good, solid grip. Doesn't have to be perfect. The alignment and the shoulders and those types of things that are really the foundation of the golf swing. Those things are at the top of the list for things to work on when you go to the range. But when you're starting to, try to emulate somebody else's golf swing, that's when you can find yourself in a lot of trouble. But it's a crazy game, and there've been a lot of people. I think of ways to, training aids that I could try to design and develop, and I've not been too fortunate with that. So it's just funny. My wife, she just calls me Tin Cup. So good and bad, but staying off the range is definitely, that's something that I'll never forget.
Our next question is, Shaun, in a Pro-Am, has anyone ever played so poorly that you pulled them aside and gave them a golf lesson because they were that bad?
Yeah, there's a lot of bad golf in the Pro-Ams. But you know what? These guys don't do what I do. I'm there, and usually at the very beginning, I'm not one to give any unsolicited advice in the Pro-Am just because I want the guys or the ladies to enjoy their day. If I give them a piece of advice on the first or second hole, they're going to spend the rest of the 16 or 17 holes trying to figure out how to improve on what I just told them. Now, if you're working on a putting stroke or something like that, something that's pretty basic, maybe it's just alignment, that's one thing. But to give someone a swing thought, it's probably not the best idea. So usually I kind of take a step back and I basically just give a general statement saying, hey, look, I'm happy to help anybody with any advice. I want everybody to have a great time today. So I'm not going to just offer something, but and we can work on it afterwards or whatever. So I've not ever done that. But, I mean, I've been hit by my playing partners. I got hit once at the BC Open.
Really?
Yeah, and but hey, you see it all, and I've always enjoyed the Pro-Ams. I've always enjoyed meeting people and stuff like that, but I've seen some really bad golf. Heck, I've played some bad golf too, so it's just enjoyable. There's one kind of story about playing the Pro-Am. I was playing, and this really has nothing to do with the technique or aspect of playing golf, but just something that was really funny because a friend of mine brought it up the other day, is that I was playing at Pebble Beach. It was the first day. We were playing at Poppy Hills, and the pairings had come out, a day or two before, and I saw that I was being paired with Jim Kelly. And so, because I was in the celebrity rotation. It was maybe a year or two after I won the PGA, so I was in that rotation. But I noticed he was from Louisville, Kentucky, and I thought, it can't be the same guy, but it's got to be. And anyway, I was watching this guy hit balls, and I'd commented to my caddy, he's really struggling. And my caddy said something as well. You know, he was topping him. He missed it a few times. And my caddy kind of said, you know, you're probably going to be playing with that guy today. And I said, no, I'm playing with Jim Kelly. And we never saw Jim Kelly that we were thinking of on the range. Well, you know, we get down there, get to the teeing off, and I'm happy I'm playing with this guy. And I said, hey, you know, nice to meet you. You know, kind of what do you do? And he says, oh, I'm chairman and CEO of UPS. And which was funny. I said, well, you may not want to play with me because my father was one of the very first hired by FedEx. So I had a UPS guy, and he ran a UPS, and me being a FedEx guy, and he kind of gave me a dirty look in the beginning, and then we kind of moved forward. But it was kind of funny. So
did you ever see Jim Kelly?
I never saw Jim Kelly, but we had a great time. Jim and I from Louisville Jim, as I called him, we had a great time, and was a great man, and it was just kind of a funny story.
So, Shaun, as you look ahead, you know, to your career, and going forward, the next question is: are you already qualified to play on the Champions Tour, or do you have to do something in order to make it out there?
Well, that's a really good question, because I was just in Virginia Beach doing an outing with a bunch of senior guys, you know, Guy Burroughs and Skip Kendall, and Todd Hamilton's turning 50 here in 8 days. I'm looking at my watch.
Is that right?
For some reason, the 18th of October, I guess because I just heard it from him. But, yeah, here's how it stands at this point. Now, I've talked to someone at the Champions Tour from the PGA Tour, and this is how it kind of works, at least in my case. There are you know, so many different categories, but all-time money right now is where it is. I would probably be okay for all-time money right now with a little over $9.5 million if I was on the Champions Tour right now, but I'm not. And so by the time 3 years rolls around, the career money, I'll be, you know, because as these guys earn money, the career money just keeps going up. Even on the Champions Tour, that money counts. So, although I do have a PGA win, which is a major championship, and that does count for more points than a regular tour win. I think my major counts for 3 points. A regular tour event counts for 1 point. Even though I have 3 points, I don't qualify for the multi-win category, which is 2 wins or more, because I only have 1 win. Even though my major counts for more points than 2 wins, I'm not on there. So, like Todd Hamilton, for example, is probably made just a little, he's made about half as much money as I have in career money, a little bit more than half, but he's got 2 wins. So people may look at that as being a little funny. You look at me, I've got 1 win, and I've got more career money than Jack Nicklaus, and he's got 72 wins or something like that. So that's
right.
kind of how all that works. What's really hurt me is just really the last 7 years. When I had my shoulder surgery in 2008, I basically only had I had 1 good comeback year in 2010, but I've had really not hardly any earnings. I mean, a little bit in 7 or 8 years, and I'm at a little over not quite $9.5 million, and I haven't hardly made any money in 7 years. So that's really hurt me. But you know, there's nothing I can do about that right now. But there's a process in place. They're thinking about making all-time wins, trying to figure out a way to combine, maybe prorate the money. I mean, even the money now compared to when I was playing in 6-7 years ago is leaps and bounds more. I mean, right. You look at the numbers of guys that have won over $1.5 million on the tour, and it's probably like the top 50 or 60 guys have already won over $1.5 million. You know, I finished 31st or 32nd on the money list in 2003, and I only made 1.8. So wow. That tells you 32nd on the money list now is probably about over 2.5. So the money's gone up quite a bit. But, you know, there's going to be some changes, I think. They're looking at maybe cuts made, prorating the value of the money, all-time wins. They may go to an all-time wins category. If they do that, then they may weigh the majors a little bit more. I'm in an unusual situation. I do admit that. It's unfortunate for me, really, that I wasn't able to capitalize on a couple of the events prior to the 2003 PGA. But I didn't know that back then. I was disappointed with not winning more or winning any until the PGA, and I still assumed that I was going to win beyond that. It just hadn't happened. And then with the injuries and those types of things have really hurt me as far as looking at the Champions Tour. However, I'm exempt. I'm exempt for the Senior PGA. I'm exempt for the Senior British. I'm exempt for the U.S. Senior Open. And there might be one or two other ones that I'm exempt for based on my win. There's exemptions and stuff there that there may be a possibility. And again, in the next 3 years, they may change that. May change they may weigh the major more heavily. I just don't really know. And as I said, I'm in a unique situation in that a major championship is my only victory. Now, I've won other places around the world, but as far as on the PGA Tour and where it really matters, I've only won that one. So that hurts a little bit, but I'm always exempt for the PGA Championship. And so I'm exempt on the Champions Tour in Europe, for winning a major, but I'm not for the Champions Tour. And Neil Lancaster, and I'll end this question here in a second, but Neil Lancaster ran into Commissioner Fincham a couple of years ago at a web.com event. He was just wanted to play a little bit. And he told Commissioner Fincham, he's like, look, here I am. I've played in over 620 events on the PGA Tour, made over 450 cuts. And how am I not exempt on the tour, on the Champions Tour? And people look at that and say, well, it's the Champions Tour. You didn't win. But it's really about what you've done to provide and support the PGA Tour. I mean, you don't have to be a ticket seller to really earn your way onto the PGA Tour. There are only so many superstars that can go around. For the rest of us, we make up the majority of the PGA Tour, and we provide a lot of value, a lot of entertainment to the fans as well. So I understand that people want superstars, but not everybody can be one. And I don't think the Champions Tour was started with that in mind. It seems to be trending in that direction, but so I'll, when I get there, I'll worry about it. But like I said, I know those events I'll be exempt. I'll be exempt to the finals of their tour school if I go there. I can do the Monday qualifiers. So as it stands right now, I'm not fully exempt. Like Todd Hamilton gets 2 years. Starts October 18th, and he gets 2 years from that day to play because he's got 2 wins. So for me, unless I can find another way to win, that's gonna, or unless they change something, that's gonna happen to me. I'm gonna be at, just a limited starts probably.
And I think it's important to point out, and you mentioned it a moment ago, Shaun, you won elsewhere. Remind our listeners where else you had wins.
Well, I mean, I won an Asian major championship in Singapore, the Singapore Open, which was actually that was 1998. Guys like Carlos Franco, Todd Hamilton, Brant Jove, all these guys, were playing these events. And that was really kind of before I got my PGA Tour career started. I won a lot of tournaments on the mini tours and things like that when I first started playing, but those are things really to get the wins to kind of propel you on to bigger and better things. And certainly the loss at the BC Open when I had a 3-shot lead in the last day, and not I bogeyed the last 2 holes to finish third. Although 18, I needed to make a birdie, so that's what I tried to do. But it was disappointing. I lost to a really good friend of mine, Spike McCoy, who doesn't play anymore, I don't think. But I guess those things were kind of disappointing. But I won a web.com event in Greensboro at Sedgefield, and I hadn't played a whole lot on the web.com tour. I think I finished 9th on the main list that year. But anyway, there's been a lot of other places that I've won and places I should have won but didn't. So anyway, I'm excited about the prospects of becoming 50. Not really ready to rush through my life quite yet. I'm still enjoying my kids. I'm not enjoying the experiences in golf right now at all. I'm not having a whole lot of fun with that. my wheels seem to be spinning a little bit. I don't have anything really to look forward to. Much like this year before the PGA, I had a lot of opportunities that were there that I knew I was going to get in a few events. And then, post PGA Championship, the only thing I've got to really play in right now is I'm going to go to the web.com tour school in November. I'm going to go back to Houston and try to get back and try to make my way back onto the PGA Tour that way. So I've been working hard, but I'm certainly not having a lot of fun. As we talked earlier, it's not a whole lot of fun to practice and spend time. It's when you do this game for a living, you want to be out there competing and playing against, and playing for money and those types of things. But I haven't done that in a while. So I'm just kind of looking forward to the next few years and seeing if I can't get back on the PGA Tour. That's kind of my goal.
Absolutely, and I think that is exciting, though. The web.com school in November is, I think that's an exciting thing, and we're, obviously we're behind you, and I'm sure everyone listening in and the folks that have been submitting questions and following you on social media, I think that's an exciting thing for your fans to know that you're going to be out there and plugging away at it, and I think they're going to all be in your corner. So I think that's an exciting thing. I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
It is. Well, it would certainly be. It's not the time to throw in the towel quite yet. The future in golf, it comes to an end for everyone at some point, and sometimes it comes a little earlier for others. But for right now, my goals are to try to figure out the way to get back onto the PGA Tour. As I said earlier, the tour has gotten so young. The advancement in technology, the fitness of the players, the mindset of the players. When you've been out of the game, at a high level like I have, really for about the last year and a half or 2 years, it's hard to really kind of get back in that. When I was a young person playing, I would see guys that got to be about my age, and they would kind of fall off the tour, and I always would kind of think, well, what happened to those guys? Not that I really wanted to know, because I never thought, well, that's not going to happen to me. And then you kind of see it. You see things change. You have some health issues, or maybe just not playing well, and you lose a lot of confidence. And as you age, things start to change. Your body changes. Your body feels different when it gets up over the ball. It looks different. Things just look different. And I don't really know how else to explain it. But that's why there's a good future in the Champions Tour, and I'm working hard towards that. I think that's regardless of your age, I think you should always try to have goals. And I still want to compete and play. I mean, if I didn't want to play anymore, I'd shut it down and I would try to find something to do. Now, I don't know what I would do, but I still want to compete. So I'm out there every day practicing and trying to look towards the future. It's difficult because I don't see anything really there on the horizon. It's just kind of standing out, but just trying to get better and trying to be more consistent, and those are the types of things I'm trying to do.
Yeah, like I say, you got the web.com thing coming up in November, and certainly off in the horizon because you're several years younger than I, but you've got some time for the Champions Tour, but I think that's on the horizon, and I think you've been so close this year in a number of events to playing on the weekend by a stroke here or there, and I think it's completely different. So I think you're going to be there. I got a lot of faith that we're going to see a much better result for you in 2016.
Yeah, well, I look forward to it. I do. I look forward to the challenges out there. I mean, there have been many, but hey, it's exciting to be able to share some of this information with your listeners. So for right now, it's like I said, I'm gonna enjoy my weekend down here in Florida with my kids and some friends, and
there you go,
and get back to work next week, and
that's great stuff.
Life
Shaun,
as a dad will continue.
Before we let you go, remind our listeners one more time about how they can follow you online and over social media.
Yeah, I'm at Shaun Micheel on PGA on Twitter, Shaun Micheel on Facebook. And I heard Cindy earlier, she's got a lot of things going. She's got websites and she's got everything else. Maybe I need to catch up to her. But I enjoy following people on social media. I haven't gotten a whole lot of questions. When we first started this series a number of months ago, I'd get a few questions, and I haven't gotten so many lately. So, but you can find me there, and I'm always happy to answer anything that your listeners may have for me.
There you go. Shaun, thanks again for taking time this week to be a part of the show. Always so much fun to get to talk with you. Look forward to keeping it going. In the meantime, have fun with your family down in Florida, and all the best to you and them. We look forward to catching up with you again real soon.
All right, Chris. Thanks so much. You guys have a great day.
All right, you too. Take care, Shaun.
All right, bye-bye.
Shaun Micheel, again, what? And Shaun sells himself short because he did some great things back in the early part of the 2000s, and he's so close, this year in a couple of events, only missing out playing the weekend by a stroke here or there. I know he's going to have a lot better results when we look back a year from now at what 2016 was. I think we're going to see a lot better results for Shaun Micheel. Great guy, really love Shaun. All right, folks, it's time for me to put a bow on this episode. Before we close up shop, I like to remind you about the book out there from our friends Dave Stockton Jr. and his father, Dave Stockton Sr. They have out there. It's called Own Your Game. Remember, folks, so much of the game is played, like we talk about every single week, it seems like, on the show. Between that 5-inch space between our ears, you got to get your mind right. And in this book, the Stocktons let you know how to use your mind to play winning golf. Own Your Game recreates the experience of riding 18 holes with Dave Stockton at one of his highly sought-out corporate outings and draws from his experience as a champion player, both on the regular tour, then on the Champions Tour, and now as a revered coach by so many players. He shows you how to think better, stay calmer, and execute more consistently, and most importantly now, how to enjoy the game more thoroughly. Go to StocktonGolf.com to get your copy, and for a couple extra dollars, Mr. Stockton will even autograph it for you. All right, folks, my sincere thanks once again to Cindy Miller, David Meltzer, and Shaun Micheel for joining me today, making today's show so much fun for me to be a part of. I hope you enjoyed it, too. We thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you guys the very most. We know you have so many options for shows to listen to or to download and stream, and we appreciate that ours has been one of them. Please also check out our sister show, Thursday Night Tailgate, with me, my co-host Bob Lazzari, our announcer Joe LaGenusa. That show airs live every Thursdays from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find it in a number of places. It's on armedforcesradionetwork.org. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Audio Boom, Spreaker, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Blog Talk Radio. We're everywhere. We get to talk with some of the greatest legends from the NFL every single week. We have several of them joining us every single week as part of the show. They share their stories and their insights for what they're seeing now on the playing field as well. So please check us out. You can find that show online at ThursdayNightTailgate.com. You can find this show at nextonthetee.net. You can stream or download any of our archive episodes for free and keep up to date with who some of our future guests are going to be by looking online at either site. Thanks again, folks, for being a part of the show. We really appreciate it. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.
You've been listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA legends, pros and top instructors, and media members go to tell their stories. Join us the same time every Saturday to hear more stories about the game we love from the people who love sharing those stories with you. It's all about the great game of golf. It's all about the great game of golf.